The Spectacular Acrobatacular Circus was finally coming to Eldervale, and Jin, Arya, and Auric had all been given permission to go. All of them were so excited to see the acrobats and their amazing feats of strength and skill. Jin was especially eager to see the circus, because he was somewhat of an amateur acrobat himself. He loved to perform backflips, swing from tree branches, and climb the castle walls. He couldn't wait to see the circus performers on the trapeze, the high wire, and the aerial silks.
Perhaps I will find some inspiration for new moves,
he thought eagerly. The day of the circus finally arrived. Queen Lyra sent the 3 youngsters off to the circus with enough money to purchase their tickets and to buy one treat for them to share.
Enjoy. Be safe,
she said, waving goodbye. The 3 friends thanked the queen and scurried away. They headed for Eldervale Town Square, where a huge red and white circus tent had been set up overnight. As they walked, they shared what they were most excited to see.
I want to see the tightrope walkers,
said Arya, wobbling as she mimicked the small steps of the acrobats she was looking forward to.
I'm excited to see the jugglers,
chimed in Auric, pausing to dramatically mime throwing and catching things in the air.
I can't wait to see all of it,
Jin exclaimed as he sprang forward onto his hands and completed a front flip. He ended with a flourish and took a bow. The 3 friends laughed and picked up their pace, impatient to arrive. Soon they came upon the circus tent. A long line had formed at the ticket booth.
Ugh,
said Jin.
It'll take us forever to get inside.
They took their places at the back of the line and tapped their toes as it inched forward.
Can't this go any faster?
Jin grumbled, looking longingly toward the entrance to the tent.
It's moving,
sang Arya, patting Jin on the back affectionately.
We'll just have to be patient.
Half an agonizing hour later, the end of the line was in sight. They had almost reached it when 2 kids they didn't recognize cut in front of them.
Hey!
Jin shouted.
What do you think you're doing? We were here first!
Orc put his hand on Jin's arm to signal he would handle the situation. He then turned his attention to the kids.
We've all been waiting our turn,
he said calmly but firmly. The 2 line cutters looked at each other, then at Auric, Jin, and Arya.
Ugh, fine, whatever,
one said as they slunk to the back of the line.
How rude,
Jin said, fuming.
Can you believe them?
Yeah, that was rude,
agreed Arya.
But don't let it get to you. We're here to enjoy the circus, remember?
Jin nodded, but still felt angry.
Next,
called the ticket seller. Jin, Auric, and Arya purchased their tickets and went inside. The stage was lit with colorful lights, and a tightrope was stretched far above it. A trapeze and bright silk ropes hung from the scaffolding at the top of the tent, making the place look almost magical to the friends.
Ooh!
Squealed Arya.
It's so pretty!
Let's go pick out our snack before it starts,
Auric suggested. The 3 friends headed for the concession stand, where they examined the delicious-looking treats on display. Though it was a hard choice, they finally decided on cotton candy. Arya paid the seller and received a bag filled with fluffy yellow, pink, and blue candy. Once they had their treat, they took their seats to wait for the show to begin. After a few minutes, the lights dimmed.
It's starting,
said Jin excitedly, almost bouncing in his seat. A deep voice boomed over the loudspeaker.
Welcome to the Spectacular Acrobatacular Circus.
The lights brightened again to reveal performers on the stage, arranged in an elaborate formation. Some of the acrobats stood on each other's shoulders, while others hung from the various hoops and scarves dangling from the ceiling. They at once began performing amazing acrobatic feats, tumbling, flipping, and twirling all across the tent. The crowd applauded wildly and cheered, but none were as loud as Jin, who clapped and whistled enthusiastically for the acrobats and their amazing tricks.
And now,
Exclaimed the loudspeaker voice.
the amazing trapeze troupe.
Jin, Auric, and Arya turned their shining eyes and watched in awe as the trapeze artists took the stage next. They swung high above the crowds, jumping from trapeze to trapeze with grace. Even when it looked like they would surely fall, they would be caught and swung back effortlessly. It was spectacular. As they watched the spectacle, Jin, Auric, and Arya shared the cotton candy, munching on it until there was only a small piece left. Auric, without thinking, took the last of it and put it in his mouth. Jin reached for the treat, only to find it all gone.
Auric, you took the last of the cotton candy.
Jin snapped.
Oops. Sorry, Jin.
Auric responded abashedly.
I didn't mean to take the last bit without sharing it.
It's fine.
Jin huffed, still annoyed. Just then, a juggler came onto the stage. She was tossing rainbow-colored balls in the air. First 5, then 6, then 7, 8, 9, 10. Jin, Auric, and Arya stared in amazement. The juggler finished her first act and put the rainbow balls down while the audience applauded, picking up 5 clubs that were on fire next.
Is she going to juggle with fire?
Jin asked in disbelief, enthralled by the notion. Just then, a tall bear who had come in late took his seat in the row in front of them, blocking Jin's view of the stage. He couldn't see the juggler and her fiery clubs. How rude! Jin felt his face growing hot as all his anger from the other situations during the day built until they finally exploded.
Ah!
He yelled.
That's it. I'm done.
He stood up from his seat and stormed off. Auric and Arya looked at Jin's retreating back in surprise at the outburst.
Jin, come back.
Auric called.
I'll go find him.
Arya said to Auric.
Stay here so you don't miss the show too.
Arya made her way out of the circus tent and found Jin outside, fists clenched, pacing angrily.
Jin,
Arya said as she approached him.
what's going on?
Jin stopped his pacing and looked at Arya.
It's just...
He stuttered to a halt, his balled-up fists flexed.
It's just... I get so angry sometimes. It was one thing after another today, and I couldn't take it anymore. I felt so mad I couldn't control myself.
He took a deep breath to steady himself.
Arya, how do you always stay so calm? You never get angry.
Well, I actually do get angry.
Arya said, chuckling a bit to herself. Jin raised his eyebrows in surprise.
Yeah, in fact, I got angry just last week at school when Lourdes and Wendy didn't pick me to be in their study group. I have a little trick, though, that helps me dial it down. When I feel really mad, I go to a quiet place and breathe deeply while counting to 10. Or, if I can't go somewhere quiet, I breathe and count in place.
She demonstrated, counting to the full 10 before continuing.
In fact, this method helped me diffuse my anger at my friends, and I was able to gently explain to them that it hurt when they left me out.
Said Jin.
Breathe and count? That's all it takes?
Yes,
Said Arya encouragingly.
it's okay to feel angry, But don't let it take control of you and your temper. After all, we can't always control what happens to us. It's not good to go through life losing our temper because of things we can't control. We especially don't want to allow our moods to affect our relationships with others.
Jin looked down for a moment before speaking.
That's really good advice, Arya. I want to be in control of my anger and not let it control me.
Come on, let's go back in before we miss the aerial dancers,
said Arya, smiling gently. Jin and Arya returned to the circus tent and their seats, but Jin still couldn't see over the tall bear in front of him.
Arya, would you be willing to switch seats with me since you're taller?
Jin asked.
That's a good idea,
she responded.
I can still see the stage thanks to my height.
Thanks,
said Jin sincerely, wishing he'd thought of this solution earlier instead of losing his temper.
In fact, thanks for everything,
he added. Arya smiled understandingly at her fiery friend. When the show ended, everyone applauded as the performers took their bows. Behind Jin, Arya, and Auric, several boisterous kids were pretending to take bows too. One girl bowed too far forward and spilled her popcorn onto Jin, who was seated in front of her.
You've got to be kidding me,
said Jin to himself, starting to seethe while the girl apologized. Arya tapped him on the shoulder and gave him a wink.
Right,
said Jin. He took several deep, slow breaths as he counted to 10 in his mind. Right away, he felt calmer and in control. It felt good to brush the annoyance aside without losing his temper. After the performers took their final bow, Jin, Arya, and Auric gathered their trash and headed toward the tent exit. As they were leaving with the crowds, a young badger bumped into Jin's shoulder.
Get out of my way,
she said nastily. Jin's breathing quickened and his ears burned. He thought about his conversation with Arya and took a deep, slow breath.
Actually,
he said calmly,
you bumped into me, and there's no need to be so rude.
Oh, sorry,
said the badger, taken aback at Jin's response. Jin smiled to himself. He was very proud that he had kept his temper while still speaking his mind. On the way back to Eldervale Castle, Jin, Arya, and Auric talked about all their favorite performances from the event.
I loved the dancers. I can't wait to try some of those new moves,
Jin enthused.
I thought the clown was really funny,
Arya teased.
Maybe I'll try some of his moves on you guys.
I can't wait to juggle with fire,
Auric piped up. Jin and Arya looked at Auric in a concerned manner. Then everyone burst into laughter.
Yeah, right. Maybe start with regular clubs,
giggled Arya. As their laughter began to die down, Jin cleared his throat.
Guys,
he began.
I'm sorry I was impatient today. Thanks for helping me learn to control my temper. That's actually the main skill from today that I want to practice.
You're welcome, Jin,
said Arya.
We are always here for you,
Auric added as Eldervale Castle came into view.
We believe you can do anything you put your mind to.
Jin smiled appreciatively at his great friends.
Hey,
he began as a sly grin appeared on his face.
How about we race home?
He turned and ran, the other two close behind, laughing all the way. Their eventful day was not quite over yet. They still had to tell everyone in the castle about all the neat things they had seen and learned at the Spectacular Acrobatacular Circus.
Thank you for watching this video, and be sure to like and subscribe to the Matheus Academy channel for new videos and content. Parents, if you'd like to talk with your child about some of the lessons learned in this story, check out the link in the description below. Our parenting videos provide some lessons and tips that we've put together, so go ahead and check them out. Come and see what makes Matheus Academy and the world of Meridian a great place to spend time with your child.